Hi, my name is Gabriela, and I'm gonna be here with you for the next 40 minutes. The topic of this talk is Anyway, it's just English, and I'm gonna tell you why. So, I have a bachelor degree in languages, and I've specialized in translation and interpretation. When I was a student, I said I promised to myself that I would never dedicate my professional life to teaching or anything that has to do with education. Well, look at me now. Now I'm in charge of a language center, and most of my professional life I've done teaching. I have been a teacher for different grades. I have taught in elementary school, in high school, and in professional, university. Okay, so one thing that I've heard a lot during my teaching university years is a phrase, ay, al fin que nomás es inglés, ¿qué tiene? No pasa nada, right? So I'm gonna give you an example. Imagine you're with your friends, it's your lunch break, you are in the school cafeteria, and you're looking at the things, at the options that you have to eat, to have some lunch at that moment, but nothing really, nothing is really attractive for your hunger at that moment. So you tell to your friends, hey, what if we go to Gorditas de Doña Pelos in Altozano, or tacos de chicharrón prensado in Chapultepec? And your friends say, yeah, hey, we have classes after the lunch break. What are we gonna do? We don't have enough time to go to Chapultepec and eat tacos or gorditas or whatever. So what are we gonna do? And you just say, ay, pues no vamos, no entramos. Solo es inglés, no pasa nada. Right? Does it ring a bell to you? Because I heard a lot of times. So a lot of people have this notion, especially in university, that English is not that important. For example, if I'm studying, obviously if I'm studying languages, yeah, English is important. But if I'm studying medicine, if I'm studying law, if I'm studying graphic design, English is not really that important, right? Well, languages are important. English is important. And in this topic, I'm going to be talking particularly about English, but all languages are important. English is the most studied language in all the world. Around 20% of the world's population speak English or study English as a second language, of course. The language that has more native speakers is Chinese, and then Spanish, and then English. But as a second language, the most spoken language in all the world is English. So English is the most spoken language because it has become a lingua franca. So what is a lingua franca? A lingua franca is a language that people use to communicate across nations. So before English, like a long time ago, it was French. So for example, in Europe, if people from England wanted to speak with someone from Spain or someone from Italy or someone from Germany, they would use French as a main tool to communicate, or as the language to communicate. And even right now, a lot of documents that are important, like legal documents in England, are still written in French. So you may say, well, if Chinese is the most spoken language in the world, shouldn't I be studying Chinese rather than English? Well, I wouldn't say like you should be studying Chinese rather than English. I would say you should study Chinese and English, but I think you should study first English and then Chinese, because English has the same alphabet, has the same way of reading, and Chinese is a completely different system. The characters are completely different. the sounds are different. Well, English sounds are also different, but you know what I mean. Okay, so I would say you have to start with English, and then you can move on to different languages, or to a language as complicated as, or not complicated, as complex as Chinese. And a lot of people say, well, I think Chinese will become the most spoken language in the world as a second language. Like Chinese will become, or Mandarin will become, the lingua franca in a few years. And honestly, I don't think so. I don't think that at least in the next 20 years, Mandarin or any variations of Chinese will be the lingua franca. Why? Because it is easier for us and for people from different parts of the world to speak English rather than Chinese, because of what I said before. The alphabet, the characters, the writing, everything is completely different. So some people have tried to establish a language to become the most used language in the world, like an international language. And there was a language that people created, and it's called Esperanto. It was created around 1886, more or less, and it mixes things from Romantic languages like Spanish and Italian and Russian, and some Germanic languages like English and German. And it's just a mix, and the grammar is super easy. People say that you can learn the grammar of Esperanto in 1 hour, like all the grammar in 1 hour. And the vocabulary has a little bit of Spanish and a little bit of English and a little bit of Italian, and it's quite simple. But there are around like 1,000 people who speak Esperanto as their native language. So it's not very likely that a language like that it has been created will become a lingua franca. And the same thing happens, I think, with Chinese. I don't think it will become a lingua franca. I know it is important because a lot of businesses are in China, and a lot of it's a world power because of the economic and political reasons you already know. But I think English is the most spoken language, not just because of political and economic reasons, but because of the simplicity of the language. It's not that simple, right? But it's not that complex as in Spanish, for example. Spanish, for people who don't speak Spanish as their first language, is so much harder than English, for example. Because in Spanish we have a lot of grammar stuff and exceptions to the rules and stuff. So okay, but right now, the most spoken language as a second language in the world is English. And for all the people, except for people who are studying to become language teachers and translators and interpreters, it's just English, right? For the rest of you, you may say, yeah, but it's just English. I'm studying medicine, I'm studying law. It's just English. But is it just English? For example, I'm studying law. I'm going to be a lawyer in 2 years or in 3 years. And you may say, hey, Gabi, but I'm going to be a lawyer and I'm going to practice law here in Mexico. Like, why do I need to speak English? Because I'm going to be here. I'm not thinking about going to Europe or going to Canada or going to the United States to exercise law. I'm going to be here. So why should I learn English? Well, I'm going to tell you about an experience that I had when I finished university. I went to work with a certificate translator, what we call in Spanish perito traductor. He lived in Mexico City, but he was a lawyer and he spoke English. And I was not a lawyer. I'm not a lawyer, but I speak English, right? So when we started translating legal stuff, for him it was so easy because he knew the legal terms in Spanish that we have in Mexico, and it was easy for him to look for the equivalents in the United States in English. And for me, it was not easy at all because I had to learn and try to understand the legal stuff in Mexico first, and then try to look for something that was more or less equivalent in English in the US. And if sometimes, in some cases, there's no equivalence because we have completely different legal systems, and there are some things that exist there that do not exist here. So it was very difficult for me to translate legal stuff, and for him it was super easy, and he had a lot of work, especially because here in Mexico, and we had a lot of cases from Michoacan, there's a lot of migration to the US, and a lot of Mexican people that live in the US do not speak English, and maybe they received a lawsuit for something they did there, or a problem with their migration problem, the papers, and everything was in English for them, and they had to translate it, and some cases start there, and then they finish here in Mexico. So there's a lot of work in legal translation, and if you're studying law, and if you're going to practice here in Michoacan, it's very likely that you will encounter problems or legal situations that have to do with English, and you will need a translator. But if you speak English, maybe you will not need a translator. Maybe you can become certificate translator because you already studied law. Okay, so that's an example. But it's not only to, or imagine you are studying international businesses and you are from Pátzcuaro or Uruapan, and you have handcrafts, or you have fruit that you want to export, or you want to work in a company that exports food or handcrafts or clothes or different stuff. And you have to learn about the exportation processes, and for that, I'm sure you will need English to talk with possible buyers in Europe, in the US, etc. You will need English. Now, for a graphic designer, for a person who's studying marketing right now, you may say, well, why do I really need English if I'm going to have clients from Mexico, from Morelia, from Apatzingán, from Lázaro Cárdenas? Why do I need English? So English is not just for working with people all over the world or for studying things all over the world. It also gives you the chance to study your competition. And nowadays, your competition is not just a person who's sitting virtually next to you because you're at home right now. But it's not just your classmates, that's what I mean. It's not just your colleagues that have already finished university and are working. Your competition lives also in your cell phone. How? For example, where I work, we have graphic designers in NS that can create flyers and posters and stuff, but they have a lot of work. They have a lot of work because they assist different areas of the university. So sometimes we have to use our own resources, and I have no idea of how to use Illustrator or Photoshop, for example. But I do know how to use Canva. And Canva is an app that gives you the chance to create something pretty, sometimes for free, sometimes you have to pay something, but it gives me the chance to create something fast and effective, and that looks more or less pretty and attractive to use in social media, for example. Okay, so if I had a business of my own, and if I had to pay 500 pesos for the premium version of this app of Canva, or a different app to create a logo, or to make a flyer or a poster or a video, and the app is going to cost me 500 pesos just one time or once a year, maybe I'm going to use that option instead of hiring a graphic designer who's going to hire me, who's going to charge me with 500 pesos per design. And I have no idea of the charging rates you use, but let's say an example, 500 pesos for a flyer or for a logo or whatever. So that's also your competition. And most of these tools, most of these apps that or websites that exist are in English. And if you don't know English, how will you know them? How will you know about them? Think about marketing. Right now, a lot of people use social media to publicize their business. And as marketers, you need to know how to use social media. And think about Facebook, for example, or Instagram, or those are the most, or TikTok, for example. Most of the updates, most of the new stuff in those apps are released first in English, and a few days or a few weeks or a few months later, they have a translation in Spanish or in other languages. But in order to have the most updated version of these apps and of these tools that you have in these apps, everything is in English. So how will you know about them if you don't know English? Now, I think about people who are studying gastronomy, all the international cuisine that exists in different parts of the world, even if it's French cuisine, even if it's Japanese or Italian, it is most likely that you will have access to those, chefs or recipes or whatever, if you know English than if you don't. Now, for a person who's studying computer security systems or computing systems in general, it is very important that they know English. Why? Because most of the information that we can see right now online and all the systems that we have to protect our personal information are in English. The code that we use to program computers and different software is written in English. Now, for people who are studying psychology, the most recent research about anthropology and sociology, it's written in English, and it's very important that you get updates on that information. And right now, even as I said, your competition is in your phone. There's an app that is called, I think it's Therapify or something like it's like they wanted to do something like Spotify, but Therapify, I think it's the name. And it's an app where you can get therapy, and people are there, but you can choose from different psychologists and from different therapists the one that satisfies your needs. And it's an app that is used internationally, and you can choose there. If as a therapist you can write like, I speak English, I speak Spanish, and I speak French. So people from different parts of the world will hire you as their therapist through this platform. And it gives you the advantage of having more clients even internationally. Okay, and for example, for the people who are studying physical culture and sports, before the pandemic, a lot of people used to work out in a gym, or they took different classes. For example, I used to do yoga classes in a studio, and when the pandemic started, I stopped doing exercise, but then I started to become bigger and bigger and bigger. And I had to do something. So I looked for apps, and I found this amazing yoga app that I love. And right now, the studio where I used to go is already open to take the yoga classes again. And I'm not going back because the app that I'm paying is like 10% of the amount that I used to pay in the yoga studio. And it's super cool, and it's just me, and I have like more room for me, and I can pause it, and so it's completely different. But it's also your competition. You have to know the fitness programs that are online and that you can use, because those are your competition too. So in general, English gives you advantages over other people that study the same career that you study. It also gives you the chance to be updated and to have access to the most recent information on your field. According to the INEGI, a study from INEGI from last year, 21.6% of the population in Mexico have a career. 21.6%. Now, imagine that you are competing against those people, and you may say, well, 21.6% is not a lot of people. Well, as a percentage, it may seem like it's not a lot of people, but it is a lot of people in Mexico that have a career, and you're going to compete against all those people. And the more tools you have, the better. There's a study that is the EF English Proficiency Study, and it's done every year, and they evaluate more or less 3 million people in the world, 2.5 or 3 million people in the world per year, from different countries, from Asia, from Europe, and from America. Of 100 countries that they evaluate their English proficiency level, Mexico is number 82. And the level that most Mexican people that applied the test demonstrated is super low. It's really, really low, like A2 level. So A2 level, we're talking about pre-intermediate level. So in a study from 2015 from Instituto Mexicano para la Competitividad, which is the IMCO in Mexico, they said that they found that 5% of the people in Mexico, 5% of the people in Mexico are able to speak or understand English. So 5%, and that was like 6 years ago. So imagine the level of competence that we have right now in Mexico. Okay, so knowing English or knowing a different language not only gives you the advantages that I mentioned before, like knowing your competition and having access to the most recent studies or researches in your field, but it also gives you the chance to have more studies in your field. And let me tell you that a lot of universities like UNAM, they ask you for a reading comprehension certificate in English or a different language, or an English proficiency test in English in order to start studying a master's degree or a PhD. And at the language center where I work, we apply those tests. We apply the reading comprehension test and the English proficiency test. It's not like an international certification like TOEFL, but it's an internal certification that we have at UNAM for these programs only. And you have no idea how many people cannot study a PhD or cannot study a master's degree because they don't know English. And it's a shame because sometimes people have already their thesis projects and they have the research topic, and maybe they are so good at their field. We have excellent biologists and excellent anthropologists and psychologists and people that work in science, and they are excellent at their field, but they don't know English, and they cannot start a master's degree program or a PhD program because they don't know English. And it's a shame. It's really a shame. And they try to pass the test and approve the test every year and every year and every year, and they fail because they don't study English. And when they want to study English after they finish university, well, some of them are working, some of them are married and they have kids, and they have to study English now, because if they don't study English, they will not get to that master's degree program, or they will not get to that PhD program. And it's more difficult to study English after working. Like if you work from 8 to 5 or 8 to 6, and then you go home and then you take care of your kids, and at night you decide to start your English classes, it's more complicated because you're tired, you are frustrated, and it's more difficult. So, and you have no idea how many people regret not having studied English before when they had the chance, when they had the time and the opportunity or the money to do it. I'm going to share with you the experience of a friend of mine. She's a doctor. She's an ophthalmologist and she's a retina specialist. And she has studied English before. She studied English before she started university. And then in university, she continued taking English lessons. And you have no idea how it has helped her. So I'm going to show you the experience of Dr. Dalia Guadarrama.
Yes, totally. Speaking English has helped me present medical research papers in other countries, and I have met important ophthalmologists. If I didn't speak English, I couldn't know the most recent treatments in ophthalmology. Many of them are presented in international congresses, and the language required is English. My best advice for all the students of all careers is to learn English. It gives you better chances in professional life, and it's better if you learn as soon as you can.
As Dr. Guadarrama said, English gives you more chances to succeed in your professional life. Now I'm going to share with you the experience of Elise Vasquez. Ulysses is a computer systems engineer. Ulysses has worked in different companies. He's an entrepreneur and he has co-founded many companies, many enterprises, not only here in Mexico, but in other parts of the world, and languages have been crucial for his professional and personal life. In 1999, he joined the team of the then startup Mercado Libre, and he worked there since it had zero sales until it became the big monster that we all know that Mercado Libre is right now. After Mercado Libre, he co-founded many companies such as Ergos, which is it was a online marketing company. And then in Silicon Valley, he founded a company called Investo, which invested in technology startups in the US, but also in Latin America. And now he's a co-founder of Mureni, which is a big company right now. And as I said before, languages have been super useful for him. And I want to share with you the experience that he has had through his professional life.
Hi, I am Elise Vasquez. I am an entrepreneur on technology startups, and speaking English for me has been crucial, as all the technology activity is mainly on English. So, and the main center is Silicon Valley in the USA. So if I wouldn't be able to speak English, I really couldn't do anything of the things that I do now. So speaking the language, understanding the culture has been really essential in my life. Aussi, je parle français et aux premières fois était seulement pour la culture, mais après je fais des affaires en français et je fais l'acquisition et l'achat d'une entreprise à les groupes Orange, et a été super important que je parlais français et ça a aidé beaucoup à fermer la négociation. Também falo português, e quando eu lancei Mercado Livre no México, o fator que eu falar português foi muito importante para coordenar as coisas no Mercado Livre Brasil, e agora para a minha nova companhia tem sido muito importante porque eu já conhecia a cultura, conhecia o país, conhecia tudo para lançar meu negócio lá. Então, português também tem sido muito importante. Anche parlo italiano, non per lavoro, solo per piacere. Io posso dirti che imparare le lingue non solo ti aiuterà nel lavoro, Ma te ayudará a scoprir altre Es mucho más fácil de lo que parece. Mucha suerte con los idiomas. Hasta luego.
I also want to talk to you about Eduardo Arnulfo Garza Lopez. He's also a friend of mine that has been using languages, especially English, as a main tool to get amazing jobs and to get better in his professional life. He has a bachelor's degree in international negotiations or international business, and he has a master's degree in business administration, a MBA. He has worked in Walmart. He has worked in Amazon as a director of logistics and planning, strategic planning and transportation, logistics, distribution. And I'm going to share with you a little bit about his experience.
Hi everyone, my name is Eduardo Garza. I'm a supply chain and logistics professional with over 18 years of experience in companies such as Walmart, Amazon, Electra, and Drupal. And I'm honored to be talking to you about the importance of learning English as a second language. For me, English has been a very powerful tool. It has been a critical leverage in my professional and personal development as well. On the professional side, it has given me the chance to break the barrier, to take a step forward and to give the edge in order to participate and sometimes to lead global impact projects, launching new countries, representing Mexico in different countries and different initiatives, and also launching Mexico as a new market, as a new country for a company such as Amazon. Breaking these barriers or taking this step forward has not always been easy. But I'm convinced that without English, it would have been impossible to deliver that, to take those opportunities for me. On the personal side, that actually influence also the professional side. It has given me the chance to learn about different cultures, to actually live within the different parts of the US or the UK and not being a stranger. Actually live like a local and understand what locals do and what they do it. Because I'm able to communicate, not just to speak English, but to share my ideas, to share my passions, and understand what other people is passionate about. So, if you have the chance to learn English or to learn different languages, I'm sure that it's going to be a great tool for you. I'm sure that it's going to serve you well in the future. It doesn't matter if it's on the near future or the long-term future, but eventually it's going to serve you well.
Speaking other languages doesn't have to be perfect. Obviously, if you're a language teacher or if you want to become a translator or a certificate translator or an interpreter, your level of English has to be high, yes. But if you're a lawyer, or if you're going to become a lawyer, or a chef, or a marketer, or international business person, you don't have to speak English as a native person, right? But your level of English has to be enough that it makes you able to communicate with people from all over the world. When we grow old, speaking languages becomes a little bit harder, and it doesn't mean that our brain stops working or that we become dumb or stupid, but it's a matter of shame. When we are learning English or when we are learning a different language, we don't want to speak, we don't want to say things, we don't want to repeat, because what if I say it wrong? What if I pronounce something wrong? And everyone is going to laugh. And the reality is that no one laughs, okay? think about, I don't know, if you know some teachers from other countries, or you have friends from different countries and they know Spanish, but their Spanish is not perfect. And if they ask you for something and they make a mistake in Spanish, you don't laugh about them. You try to correct them. You try to help them. And that's the reality. When we are learning English, or when we travel to a different part of the world where they speak English and we make mistakes, basic mistakes, people don't laugh at us. So we need to start losing that fear of mispronouncing or making grammar mistakes. And we have to practice and practice and practice, okay? And also, a lot of people are super stressed because their accent is not perfect. Like, I sound like very Mexican. Or I have students, for example, that they don't want Mexican teachers because they sound too Mexican. And let me tell you that the accent and the pronunciation are two different things. Your pronunciation has to be good. For example, one thing is 3 and one thing is tree. So your pronunciation has to be correct, yes. But your accent, that's a different story, okay? You can sound you can have an accent like British English or American English or Mexican English or Chinese English or Japanese English. It doesn't matter, okay? What matters is your pronunciation is correct and that you're able to communicate with other people. The world right now requires people that are prepared to face global challenges and that are able to work and collaborate with people from all over the world. Knowing English can open many doors for you, but not knowing English can close more doors than you can imagine. The cost of ignorance is a high price that I hope none of you have to pay in your life. And that's why I invite you and I encourage you to take advantage of the classes you have, of the teachers you have, the opportunities you may have in university to go abroad and study a semester or a year in an international university and practice your English, your French, your German, your Mandarin, or the language you want to study. I urge you to take advantage of the privilege you have right now of being a student and having English classes in your university. Not everyone has that privilege, not everyone has that opportunity, so I invite you to take advantage of that, to take advantage of your teachers. And I hope this talk has been fun and has been entertaining and has been useful for you. And please let me know if you have any questions or comments. I'm all ears. Thank you very much.